So the simplest way I would suggest is utilizing your sight glasses. This is still effective even at a partial load. Here's the big thing, it's really critical. You have to have stable. You're at set points, everything is stable, you're not having major fluctuations, you're not staging the PRVs, the metering valve isn't having to pivot like no, nothing is being erratic. Everything is running stably. If you can achieve a very stable operation, then a correct charge should look like about 1/3 to 1/2 sight glass in the evaporator and about 1/3 to 1/2 sight glass in the condenser. And the way that York, this isn't a perfect exact science. Most people think it is, it's really not, which is why we have to do filled trims sometimes. They calculate it at the factory if it should be about this, but then we have to then at commissioning determine, is that actually correct, or are we a little over, a little under, and then we can trim accordingly at the point of commissioning. So that still falls on our shoulders to confirm that as the qualified technician. If somebody wasn't playing with it and changing things, one of the things I find is that when I'm starting to have a undercharge scenario, the refrigerant level in the condenser will be maintaining. And you'll start to see lower refrigerant levels in the evaporator because of it. So you'll still maintain your condenser level, but your evaporator level will be really low. Now, I have seen it to where when the machine is improperly charged or is struggling, maybe it's lost some charge, people will lower the condenser level set point, which will then increase our levels back in the evaporator. And that will work for a time. It will be less efficient, and you may get some subcooler seal loss alarms. If you see that and you see you've got a really low liquid level set point, that'd be something to look to. Now, in terms of overcharge, if you're seeing substantially above half glass on either or both, say one is, what'll probably be more likely is if somebody overcharged it, let's assume the condenser is correct and the liquid level set point and everything is correct on the condenser side. What you will very likely see is the evaporator side will be really high. And I've seen this before where it's spot on the condenser side, but it's over the sight glass in the evaporator. That is an overcharge. What you'll also see is that's going to have a heavy impact on your discharge superheat, which, depending on if you have a constant speed or variable speed, will vary what that discharge superheat will be in a given moment. That's what I'll see with a YK is you tune everything to the condenser level. The condenser level is, in my opinion, the main thing you're trying to control. That's what that whole control panel and algorithm and everything is built around, is maintain this refrigerant level in the condenser. And it's about maintaining efficiency and processing through the subcooling rack. That is its whole thing. And then the evaporator, if everything is correct, charge is right, yada, yada, then the evaporator level will be correct as a result. And that, like, everything will balance out. So I would tune that first. I would get that where it's supposed to be on the condenser side. And then I would see what my evaporator side is doing and where I'm at there. And that could lead you down many roads. Maybe it's not an overcharge. Maybe it's a liquid level set point problem. Maybe it's a liquid level sensor problem. Maybe it's a metering valve problem. So these components will affect where that charge sits. And depending on what your conditions are you dealing with high head pressure and high condenser approach? That could be the refrigerant level being set really high, as an example. But that also means that you should see lower. Like if the condenser is high, if everything's charged correctly, if you've got a high condenser level, that means you should have a lower evaporator level. Those things should balance out in that way. There again, if your levels are set too low, maybe you're dealing with a low discharge superheat problem, and that becomes your main issue. Well, then you're troubleshooting the liquid level set point being on the low end, or possibly the sensor just being bad, or the metering valve having an issue, things along those lines. So that would be the path I would chase if I was concerned about a charge issue, whether low or high, with a YK centrifugal.